Hello, Yala. Hello, hello, hi. It is me, it is I. Ah! I. She knows she's been gone. But it is me and it is I, Smutan Didi, or Hari on the internet, and I'm back. She is back, darlings. And I wanted to give like a nuanced take, so to speak, because there was a lot jumping out at me with the Tallass-Mo MacG interview, but I haven't had time to sit and rewatch it for notes, right? Because there's so much that happened and there's so much to unpack there, and I just haven't had the time. It's my season. I'm a baker, so I'm in my kitchen doing that, and I'm managing like the energy crisis. So I don't know. I'm not sure when I'm gonna get time to sit and really have this chat with you all. I feel like doing anything half-assed is just me being lazy. But I suppose some of the things that jumped out at me is like the blatant colorism from Jump. Also something that might not bother a lot of people, but I think um I not I think I had a video on here where I was chatting about my relationship with food, my disordered eating, and all of those things. So people who peddle diet culture are especially disgusting to me. So that intro bit where he's actually talking about moringa, which is a tree more than it is a plant. We have the tree out in my yard. I actually stripped some leaves off it yesterday. I want to make some tea bags and stuff. See if it'll help me with like inflammation and things like that, because I tend to have hormonal breakouts around my period, around my chin. You don't see them, like all my scarring is around my chin because I get hormonal breakouts and stuff. But they like, him and his wife, that's their new grift. They're trying to peddle this thing as like, an answer to people with weight issues, which is disgusting to me. And this wouldn't be something that sticks out to anybody. It would be such a by the by thing if you don't struggle with these kinds of things. But that's something that stuck out to me that I would like to be like, just, a little 2 minute chat on it. But that stuck out to me. The colorism, obviously, him who's, I don't believe Mome at best is the same hue as me, I would think, give or take, or even on the darker side of me, or browner more. And I don't consider myself light skinned, right? I know I'm somewhere in like the many shades of browns. My hue gets lost in between the really dark girls and the really light skinned girls, right? I don't get to benefit from whatever light skin privilege that light skinned people get to benefit from, and then I also don't get to experience colorism at the same rate or at all actually that darker skinned women experience. And I believe his daughter had, because he's a dark skinned man. So that was interesting to me, and Saul's reaction and them using Saul as like the scale of measure and it being funny, that stuck out to me, because when black women in particular have the chat on colorism, black men gaslight us like that's not a thing, that doesn't really affect you because it doesn't affect men at the same level, right? Or at all in some of them. Saul can laugh about it. His complexion, even if people joke about it, women aren't conditioned to pursue men for their appearance, so it's not something that would bother him. It He'll get bitches regardless because you hoes have no standards. So there's that, right? That stuck out to me. The language he was allowed to use, the confidence with which he knew he could use that language, him saying that he came on here because he knew that he wouldn't be, what's the word that he used that to me just sounded like accountability. He knew that this is a platform where you can come and degrade women and say whatever it is that you want to say, and nobody will hold you to account because the platform is essentially like, has morphed rather. I don't believe on inception it was the intention. I'm gonna give MacG the benefit of the doubt. He wants to entertain, like I would really just like to believe that, right? But it's morphed into a space for incels to gather and talk crazy at women, about women, around each other. I saw the comment section being sort of like a little, I don't know, rapist apologist kind of hub, rapist sympathizers, or that kind of energy. So he came on there knowing that it's sort of an echo chamber, so to speak, for the views that he now espouses, I would like to believe, as a result of this experience, right? That those are things that I picked up on, and people making excuses for him to use the kind of language that other women catch strays, like the colorist shit. The dark skinned women in your life, you're a dark skinned man, I'm going to assume they're dark skinned women in your family. When you use that language and then the internet makes excuses for you that you're just hurt, you're operating from a place of hurt, and that's why you're using that language, that becomes very, it's interesting to me and it's very jarring, because I'm like, my best friend and I were having this chat. She's like, you can get into an argument with a white person and they do not resort to using the K word in our instance, and maybe the N word on the other side of the world. Or they don't resort to using racial slurs. You guys just have an argument or a disagreement as grown people, and they don't need to start being racist to make their point. Then you have somebody else, the moment they get into an altercation of sorts with a black person, their default is racism. So when his default is misogyny and really misogynoir, and his default is colorism and all of those things, I'm like, granted, you're hurt. You can talk about this woman's character. You can come for her character all you want and how what she did is low. And granted, like, it's so layered. This is why I'm like, I don't know. And I can see that I'm not going to get the time to sit in the chat because I'm approaching the Christmas weekend and then I have to start prepping for those things. So I guess this will be the video after all. So it's like, I don't know what Papa is. Can I please record the rest of my video? Papa went to a funeral actually. So we're raising people. What was I saying? Now I lost my thought, my train of thought. But why is that? Just the language he was using was so, and I enjoy Tallass-Mo. I'm actually one of the people who's not like, oh my god, he's not funny. I enjoy him, I really do. The peddling of the diet culture thing also bothered me because, and he brought it up, that Monet was on this show years and years ago, Creme Cartel, I believe that was the name of the show. I watched that show. I don't have like the memory of it is not very vivid because it was just not that impactful for me. It didn't resonate all that much with me. It was just something new and interesting to see. So I don't remember like, play for play as to what happened scene by scene. I do, however, remember Momo being a built woman, built in that she's never had weight. She has had weight because of childbirth. So for them to come now and peddle this moringa thing as a, and this is such a throwaway thing for a lot of people, I understand it, but it's something that will sit with me because of my life experiences, right? Of sort of the culture that I see a lot of people in our community now who picked up on the fact that, oh my God, the fitness and wellness industry is this billion-dollar industry and they've been making all these money. It's our turn now to peddle like herbal life adjacent type things and say this is what's gonna make you lose weight. It's not. Mome is a girl from that show, if I remember correctly, who looked like she likes a good gym session. She was a built girl. Like, she looked like she has a good gym bod. It was hot shit. I like that. So Mome just got back in the gym. For the fat women who now want to go and buy the moringa shit thinking whatever. No, your ass still gonna be fat, girl. I don't know what to tell you. You and I just need to eat our lettuce and go on our walks. I don't know how many times I need to tell you that, right? Okay, work on the calories, make sure you're in a deficit and go for a walk. And it's hard. It's fucking hard. There's no miracle cure. No, moringa is not a fucking superfood. But this is like, a by the by thing that just stuck with me. It really just did. Anyway, getting into the meat of it is him talking about Lerato. It's her name, I believe. Oh, I haven't done my due diligence, and that's my bad. Like, I'm really sorry about that. I haven't followed up to see if he's posted the statements that he was saying. I am going to give Mo, I'm going to throw him a bone here and say that him coming on a podcast and lying about something that's a matter of public record would be just stupid. So you can get the transcripts from what I understand, or other people can get, do they call them that? The things that the stenographer types out in court, the transcripts, right? I don't know. But you can get those things and you can see what transpired in court and you can read the verdict and things like that. To a degree, there should be a matter of public record from what I understand. You just need to know how to go about acquiring the things. I don't. That's not my fucking job. But I'm going to choose to believe that Mo wouldn't lie about something that happened in court because there are mechanisms in place to verify whether or not that's what really transpired in court. So if we'll have Mo take it and take his word for it, that girl, that lady, her ass needs to be in the jail, under the jail, according to Candace. Shout out to Candace Bissett of Real Housewives of Potomac. She said that. She needs to go to the jail, under the jail, and I don't know what consequences are in place for when people falsely accuse people of things. And I mean, her case was thrown out. She didn't admit falsely accusing him, really, according to, unless all that shit she said that Mo alleges. She said in court about maybe it was his aura that did something to her. Yeah, my niece and nephew were being children, as children do. So anyway, where was I with this? I'm gonna choose to believe Mo wouldn't lie about that, right? Little girl, let me have. Do you see why I needed to make notes for this video? Because I'm doing this off the cuff now, and it doesn't feel like all the way like I'm being coherent. Like my thoughts don't seem orderly. They just don't. But they named some women on that show, MacG, the accusations Amanda DuPont made, or the plea for that she made, urging women to come forward and report if MacG had been sexually inappropriate to them in any way. And I believe that's made MacG's mindset, his approach to dealing with certain kinds of women, which is sad because I think these are women that exist in and around his industry. He's coming across jaded to me, right? And Saul is obviously an employee. I don't believe they're partners. I'll walk it back if I'm wrong. So Saul needs to essentially just like kiss his ass, and I don't know. At this point, I'm pretty sure he just lives up there. Like, really. He just lives up MacG's ass and he just camps out there and he takes it. Whatever it is, he takes it because he's... I can't do it. But anyway, because I don't want to get like that. I just don't. But there's no balance, obviously. It's this big echo chamber of whatever. Also, MacG, Me Too wasn't started by a white person. Yes, it was started like in the West, but it was not a white person. It was an African American woman. If I might be wrong, I might just be like MacG, but that's what I remember. Again, I just sat down with I'm just like, let me just talk about this, right? It's on my mind. And he goes on to talk about how that experience of Amanda DuPont, I don't give a shit, actually. I don't care for her all that much, but this is not about that. He goes on to say that experience of her doing that and him losing revenue and potential future earnings and all of that, it makes him feel like we need a movement to counter feminism. And then in walks in the argument of how much have you engaged with feminism, the different waves of it, the different schools of thoughts within the, what is it? Do we call it a philosophy or whatever? What is it? But within feminism, there are all manner of conversations and conflicting ideas and all manner of things that we're constantly working through. And how much have you really engaged with the nuance that is the concept of feminism for you to really sit there? That's I'm saying you're jaded. Like, how do you just arrive at abolish feminism? And I don't believe you've ever had an episode really where you really do somewhat of a deep dive or have people on there who have said, who we have record of all throughout their lives saying that, or their careers online or in broader society saying that they're feminists, and them really coming to sit down and explain what they mean by that, right? What parts of it, what wave of it they relate to. So just saying abolish the entire thing altogether seems lazy on their part, which is irresponsible. It wouldn't matter if they didn't have this large platform and therefore wield this like really big responsibility and influence to what I can only assume. I do not know his analytics, but his comment sections always like it reeks of inceldom. Like it just reeks of like nixels. Shout out to Kenya from Esol by Kenya. She says that she calls them nixels. It just reeks of like men who maybe, I don't know what the age group is around there, right? Of his audience or what have you, but it just reeks of people who can't stand women for whatever reason, and that space is feeding that. It's doing nothing to address the issues that they feel that they're going through, because we also do not want to invalidate the experiences of men in this conversation. But what I don't want us to do from watching that podcast is to make like the rate at which women are being violated sexually in this country, the rate of femicide in this country can in any way, shape, or form be compared to that of men who are falsely accused of these atrocious actions. Like, that's just not a real thing. Like, it's disproportionate, the outrage, or you fucking pick me bitches, I said it, coming out saying, oh my God, like women lie about this all the time. One of your friends is sitting next to you and she's not been able to tell you for years how somebody was like, had violated her for years, because underreporting is another thing. But you so badly just want to be one of the guys, or want the guys to approve of you, or one of the guys to choose you, that you now want to, you know, get your little, I don't know, advocate little thing on and try to push this narrative that the number of like men who go to jail from being falsely accused of being sexually inappropriate with people is so high. It's fucking not. Like, it's just not. It's not. And I'm not about to play that fucking game with you. Mo is, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but you can count the times that it happens versus the times that, and this is why when MacG was like, yeah, we need to do away with this Me Too thing. It's a thing from the West. Rape is not a thing from the West. Rape is a thing that happens all around the world. Women are sexually assaulted, taken at all manner of things happen to people sexually that they do not consent for all around the world. So Me Too, that didn't even make sense. Y'all just come on here and say anything with these very large platforms that you've built, and this is the message that you choose you want to peddle. Have a fucking episode on styling. Have an episode on consent. Because what you had in your comment section is fucking appalling. Okay, have an episode on really trying to explain to the young men who are looking at you. You have too much energy, for instance. MacG has too much energy to... He even found a way in this interview to insert it girls. Oh, Momo would not have stuck beside you if she was an it girl. Please have that same energy for consent. You are in a unique position. And I bet you the ratings for that episode on consent will probably be so low, because men don't want to be told that they're taking advantage of women. Men do not want to be told that you plied this young girl with all these alcohols. You did that. You served her up with all this liquor. You did this, and when she was not in a position, she was inebriated and not in a position to consent, You did as you pleased and wanted with her body, and now that's not a conversation, right? Because a lot of men, believe it or not, don't feel that's rape. There are a lot of you sitting next to people who do, and then they always come up with this fucking bullshit after, oh, you're like, I don't remember what happened. My body feel. They're like, yeah, we were both so drunk. I don't remember anything. Somebody between us, and it's not fucking me because I was passed out, had the strength to drag somebody to a bedroom or wherever, really, to take their clothes. How fucking unconscious were you for you to have the capacity to do all of that? How fucking drunk were you if you had the capacity to do all of that and I couldn't even move a fucking limb? But we were both we were both drinking, so we were both so drunk. The nuance, right? I think the broader conversation here is how upset men are in general. And I'm generalizing now. You can do with that what you want. I don't really care for men. Like, honestly, validating your feelings is not really a priority of mine. I don't go out of my way to invalidate your experiences either because it doesn't serve me. But I'm not an advocate for men issues. Like, I don't give a shit what you guys really go through. Sorry. But now I lost my train of thought because of how I really feel about you guys. Right. Hey, because you make up any excuse. You guys will make up any excuse but say, like stouthing. Nothing upsets me quite like stouthing. I do not consent for us to have our sexual encounter with a condom only for you to decide halfway through that you're going to slip it off because you don't like the feeling of it. And then you don't understand that that's rape. You don't understand that that's not what I fucking consented to. Mind you, you all are all the bunch that likes to opt out of parenthood. Right? And you do that because you know that the consequences of doing something like that does not really affect you like that. You can just opt out of the whole thing altogether. Fucking disgusting. Anyway, have an episode on these things before you go out having such strong feelings about it. Have people who know what they're talking about, whom you feel, because we also don't want to tank your platform, right? You are in a unique position now as MacG to make the difference you want. You sat around that table, the three of you, you saw and Mo, used your daughters, right, to wash yourselves of anything. That's what you did. I don't give a shit who's saying, why don't men do this? Oh, having a daughter changes you. It hasn't changed you enough to engage with women's issues. So how much has it really changed you? It hasn't changed you enough to challenge people using language that degrades women. So how much has it really changed you? It's something you say when you feel like it's going to make you look a certain way. Make you look responsible, make you look grown, make you look whatever. So it's yet again a situation where a man is using a girl or a woman to place himself in a better position. And this particular person happens to be your own daughter. And you all did it sitting there, and it was disgusting to me. You are not about to sell me on this. You know, I wanted to get home. She's 3 months old. I wanted to serve her first spoon of this because I don't know the fuck bought that shit. Right? If Mo wanted to get eliminated because he didn't really feel like being on the show anymore, because that's fucking nonsense. Your wife had just given birth and then you left to go on the show. But the 3-month mark, that's where you're going to draw the line. That's where you're going to decide that you're going to go home because you're such a great dad and having a daughter changes you. Stupid. Like, nobody's ever going to sell me on that. And I'm not saying Mo wasn't on the flight back home. I'm saying the reason why he was on the flight back home is because he was eliminated. I don't for a second believe that he got himself eliminated to go and serve her first spoon of whatever. I feel like that is, I don't know, it's giving Olivia Pope. It's giving use your daughter to get some sympathy points. The bitches will love it. I don't. I'm one of the bitches and I don't love it. Like, I'm just like, here we go again with men in the stupid narrative of how daughters change you. They're all sitting around the table. MacG, who is a father to a little girl, saying, do away with feminism. Do away with Me Too, right? Is doing nothing to make this world that he's raising his child in a more I don't know, accepting, understanding, protective environment for women and black women in particular. But every time it's almost, it's a weaponizing of sorts of his child's gender, so to speak, right? Yeah, I can say all these things, but at the end, I'm gonna say, and I'm a father to a little girl, meaning this is supposed to make it somewhat okay, or make it such that you understand. You don't understand. You actually do not understand. Okay, back to Lerato. I don't know the details that Mo spoke about the fact that her the father of her child who's raising this child, we don't know to what degree he's raising the child. We know men love to take children away from women so they can walk around telling the next woman how I'm a single father. It's like having a puppy or a cat on your Tinder profile. It gets bitches. So we know they like to do that, but for the most part, we know other people are doing the raising of the child, right? The aunts, the grandparents, and they just get to, you know, soup through, do photo shoot, fresh shit, looking like wealth, about to call the paparazzi on themselves. Shout out to my first video. But I don't know about that. What I know is the man in the court of law, if we're gonna use the court of law as a barometer of sorts, or I don't know, of determining our morals and values, even though we know that's not how the law really works. Mo was found not guilty, right? And furthermore, according to Mo, if we have Mo tell it, allegedly, all of this, if we have him tell it, the courts actually found that that woman wasted state resources and what have you. She's really set us back 1,000 years if this is what's really transpired. I'm back to this. The women that they mentioned on the podcast whom they have a gripe with are all, to me, very conventionally attractive women. Right? As anybody, this is just such a side conversation. It's really, but stay with me, please. Has anybody noticed, like me, I'm an average looking black woman, right? The idea of accusing anybody of being sexually inappropriate with me and it had not happened does not ever really cross my mind because of, first of all, it just doesn't, right? But I've realized that women who tend to be accused of doing these things tend to be very attractive. Like across the board, they tend to be very, very appealing. And I don't know if they try to come on to you and then you reject them and then they're not used to being rejected. So they feel like they gotta punish you because they're not used to being on the side of the fence that I'm on, where rejection is like my permanent state of like whatever. Or they come on to you and you go with it, but then the next day you blow them off like, hey, that was just fun. Like, I'm really not trying to do. And they're not used to being discarded off in the manner that average women, but average black women in particular, are used to being discarded of. And so they feel like they need to get back and get even. It's just, even in my own community, the 2 cases that I know, literally 2 I can count on my one hand, you see. The girls are cute. They're very, very attractive and they cannot believe that they've been rejected. So they need to get even. But it was interesting to me. She's a girl. All that him saying, oh my God, she's so dark and she's an attractive girl. You can talk all the colorist shit you want to talk, and she's not dark she's not pretty for a dark girl. She's a fucking model. Okay? She's gorgeous. Do you understand? So when I see women like that, if we have more talent, allegedly, all the things that he says she's been accused of, the lying streak, it's almost giving, again, I'm not diagnosing anybody, but it's giving compulsive lying to a degree. And when you're attractive, people let you get away with things. You don't wake up one day as a grown person and you're now a compulsive liar. You've probably been doing it your whole life and people have made room for it. Nobody's called you to order for it. And now it's gotten to this point where you took it a little too far, which is what it really, if I'm being very, very honest, is what it feels like. It feels like she sent out a tweet within the haze of the Me Too thing, where you could say what you want to say and not press charges. And then the powers that be, the Rosie Mutenes of the world, all the feminist faves, put pressure, like, you gotta press charges, and she took it a step too far, and it kept snowballing and getting away from her. And unlike all the other times that she could just tell a lie and get away with it, allegedly, this wasn't one of the times where the courts have determined, according to Mo, that no, actually, lady, you might be lying and this man didn't do these things, right? So for 30 minutes I've been talking, and this was supposed to be about Tallass-Mo and really cancel culture, right? We're now back here where we're like, what was supposed to happen? Because we also need to remember we were in the middle of a season where we were trying to, that's what Me Too was, really encourage women to speak out and stick up for themselves when these things happen. That it's not just you, hence Me Too, right? Because the case that go underreported, the cases that get withdrawn of GBV, especially in our country, we were trying to create a environment that fosters a healthy relationship and also dialogue around these things. A healthy manner of, this happened to me, the natural thing is to go to the police station and the police will assist me accordingly and not ask me what I was wearing or tell me to go away, or maybe if I didn't do this. We were in the middle of all of that when she sent out that tweet that essentially ended that man's career, right? And so that's how that happened. And maybe in hindsight, a lot of women have now come to the realization that supporting all women isn't necessarily in our best interest always, but we understand how we go there, because when it swings, like, everything is so, what's the word I'm looking for? But everything tends to be, if something happens for too long, when we try to correct it, we tend to overcorrect and it swings all the way to the other end before it swings back and we find some kind of middle ground. And I believe that's what's kind of happened here. And the chat I was having with my friend about this is that Me Too wasn't really at its core. And I believe her and believe all women, these movements that are all kind of sort of linked, are there to give voice, to give courage to the everyday woman. Like, to me, who's ill-resourced, right? It's there to say to me, we as a broader community, you don't have the money, you don't have the means, but virtually, online, and those of us who are physically around you, we will come through our terra, we'll be in the courts with you, we'll make sure that you have what you need. When people are talking nasty about you, we'll come to your defense and whatever. It's not necessarily for the women who have resources, right? And not that they can't be involved too, but it got to a point where it felt like women in the entertainment industry in particular, which is honestly plagued by these things, right? But it gave way for people to weaponize this movement that was otherwise supposed to a larger degree, but not completely, really benefit the woman who's at the bottom of this thing, the woman who does not have those resources. So sometimes the celebrity girlies, when they come out and do and say things, we do look at them now and are you trying to settle an old score that we don't know about? Is this really true? Accusing people of things and leaving it open-ended. And I'm glad that people pushed for her to pursue this in the courts. And sometimes, yes, you don't have the strength and then don't do it, right? But I'm glad that they did, because we've now arrived here where we need to have this very, very difficult and uncomfortable discourse in the public space of, like, if you're saying you're a feminist And this is the type of thing that happens. What's the chat then? Because I don't have that answer. I don't. Do we continue with the narrative of support all women and cancel this other person before they've had their day in court? 3 years is a long time for industry to treat you like a fucking pariah, which is what Tallass-Mo went through. It's a fucking long time and you have a family to support. A lot happened. A lot happened. My thoughts are all over the place, but I think maybe you guys get, if I'm gonna have to come back and do a second video to really I'm load shedding now and it's nice and quiet. The moment my lights come back on, it's December, everybody turns on their music. So if I get quiet time again, I'll listen to it, I'll make notes, and I'll decide if it's worth me coming back to work through some ideas, to work through some of my thoughts, to see if there are any important moments in there that I missed. I am hoping for, healing for Mo. I would not wish for him to continue to speak in that fashion because I don't want his daughter, and I also for himself don't want him to look back on himself. I don't want this to become his character, because before this happened, we weren't like, oh my God, that guy speaks so ill of women. I don't want him to I don't want him to live in that state of hurt and then operate from that place moving forward. It will affect how he interacts with other women, how women also have to interact with him. And it's a lot to, I'm not asking it from him, I'm wishing it for him. Like I want that for him. Healing, so that he doesn't need to use the kind of language that he uses when discussing these kinds of issues, that he can find a place where he can identify Lerato as a person on her own and still hold room and space for other women. We're asking for a lot. I know we are. My phone's about to die. So like literally my phone's about to die. Bye.